We've got some
Hey,
fresh
I'm
new young
Luis.
talent
And I'm
doing some
Luis.
things
And you're
that I
listening
know
to the
you
Content
haven't
is
heard
Profit
before.
podcast.
And we spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit.
If you'd like to learn how to turn that content into profit, just go to contentisprofit.com. There's a surprise in there for you so you can get that momentum going, baby. Let's go.
Oh yeah, go check it out. And today, incredible guest, incredible topic. We're gonna be talking all about time creation, relationship with present and future self, self-confidence,
Oh,
right?
boy.
Everything
more,
personal
tell me
growth
more.
and on the business side as well.
Yes.
I'm very excited. This conversation can go anywhere, but I have full certainty that it's gonna be amazing.
Hey, Fonzie, question.
Yeah, I might have an answer for you.
Yes, do we have a sponsor today?
Great question.
You're
Indeed,
welcome.
we
Oh.
do. We have a sponsor, and it's your own, the Biz Bros. Yeah, we sponsor our own podcast.
That's right,
With
that's
content momentum. And you might be asking yourself, what is content momentum? Well, if
tell me.
you produce a long form piece of content just like this one that you are listening to or watching, and you want to maximize your efforts, you need a team that comes and plugs into your business so it can turn all those long form pieces of content into value packed bite-sized assets,
Baby.
into little minions that then you can send into the interwebs and social media and get yourself some more new clients. Well, we are here to help you out. So please slide at the DMs at BizBrosCo on Facebook and Instagram.
Don't be shy. Go send us a message. And guys, go ahead and follow the show in your favorite platform because every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, the audio form comes out with incredible value that you can take action today and turn whatever you're doing on the content side of things and the business side of things into profit for you and your business and all the incredible impact that you're going to create. Also, follow us on social media at BizBrosCo because these golden boulders are distributed all over the place and you can take action as well with those.
That is right. And if you find today's episode impactful, please don't forget to share it with somebody because you might be impacting their life as well.
Yes.
And this one is our selfish ask of the day.
Tell me more.
Yeah, please leave a review, whether it is a 5-star review, a 1-star review. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your
Mostly
feedback.
5 stars.
So
Mostly 5 stars,
we
please.
can get better. Yes, definitely mostly 5 stars. But please leave a review. That also helps us rank a little bit higher so we can impact more people. Thank you.
It is Friday, or should I say Friday? Really, Fonzie? Really? Today we have a great guest from our Podmax family. She has been at every single one of our events we have attended, sharing her inspiring and vulnerable story. So, of course, we invited her to Content is Profit so she could inspire you as well.
Absolutely, my friend. Today's guest is one of the most resilient, I gotta work on that word, resilient humans you'll ever meet. Her story will move your soul. Let me tell you, it has moved everybody's souls at Podmax. She has also been an entrepreneur for over 25 years. Wow, that is incredible. And she recently started her podcasting journey with her new show, Unpacking Brain Drama.
She is passionate about helping entrepreneurs achieve their goals and a balanced life without burnout. We were going to be talking strong foundations for long-term business. That's right. This is right down our alley.
Yeah, we need to practice a little bit on that one.
No, I got it right,
Without further ado, please welcome host of Unpacking Brain Drama, incredible friend, and your next business and personal growth coach, Pratiti Pathak! Woohoo! Welcome, Pratiti.
I gotta tell you guys, man, I get told all the time how high my energy is. I think I'm gonna have to up my game today.
Hey, no worries. We are catching up to you. That's why we build this intro. We're like, how can we rise to the level of Pratiti? So thank you so much for being here today.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm super excited. And for everybody listening, if you normally listen to stuff on 1.5 speed, don't listen to this one on that speed.
It's funny that you say that because, sometimes I go back and I re-listen some of the interviews that we have on and, just to like recapture the incredible value that you guys are sharing every single day here. And my regular speed is 1.5. So if I go back, it's like, wait, like this is so slow. But yeah, anyways, find your speed, it's fine. As long as you consume the content and take action, like it's all good.
Take action, keyword.
Yes. Yes, Pratiti, we're so excited to have you. I mean, we've chatted, at the event at PodMax, incredible event, right? We know a little bit of your story, but I would love for you to share your story that is so powerful, with our audience, with the people that are listening right now.
Thank you so much. And I have enjoyed all of our conversations, and I love being at all the events, and I love seeing both of your beautiful faces when I get there. So thank you so much for having me. And I will say it's been a long journey, and it's been a long journey of trying to figure myself out, just like all the other humans in the world. We're trying to figure out, what is our passion? What is our purpose? Why are we here? Why are we doing anything? Just like you guys, I come from a different background. I come from a different culture. And so much of my struggles came from being part of one culture and growing up in a different culture. And they both, they both, I wouldn't say collided, but they were very different. So what was going on inside my house was very different than what I was experiencing outside of my house. Taking the time to understand that took a lot of years. I tried desperately for so many years to try to fit in both places, ultimately feeling like I wasn't fitting in either place. And over all the years of my life, all the way into adulthood, what I finally realized is, trying to fit in with everybody else, the one person I wasn't fitting in with was me. And I just was going against my own grain, thinking that I was going against everybody else's. But once I discovered what I really wanted in my life, really went along with what I have always wanted, was just to connect with people, build relationships on very deep personal levels. And that has probably led me throughout my life. And no matter what I was ever struggling with, the one thing that was consistent was my ability to connect with people and develop valuable relationships, which has always been the main factor for getting me through anything, was my ability to be able to talk to people, share with them my experiences, and then get so much more support in return.
Yeah.
I like it because I feel very identified with what you just mentioned, right? Like we grew up in Venezuela, very different country. I used to say that we were very Americanized because of the media that we used to consume. Like they were like the shows from here, like the networks, they will broadcast that. But at the same time, it's a very different culture. We're very familiar. We love, like, people don't leave their homes until they're like 35 and married with kids. Like they're like, the families grow together. And when I shared that to my wife, she was like, wait, what? Right? Like over here, she's Canadian. It's very similar to the American culture. And, at 18, like she left home when she was like 17, right? And I was a little bit of a different case because we played sports and Fonzie too. But at the same time, the family values stay, right? And it was so, when you're trying to be in a culture in a different country, we got to play the role of the guest, right? Like at the same time. And we've heard some crazy stories of people that come in and entrepreneurs that come in that are trying to like build, or instill what they bring with them. And then there's a lot of friction in there. And I remember my dad, he lived in France for a long time. He was like, when you go to this location or a platform, right, or a country, like be the best guest that you can be. Like, be quiet for a little bit, listen, understand where they're coming from, and then start mingling and act the way they act, right? Because we're guests in this country, and for the last 11 years it's been incredible, and now I consider it my country as well, right? Because we've been able to be integrated in the community and in the ventures that we encounter. So I think that's so important. Do you find?
Wait. Before you ask a question here. Yeah, I'm going to interrupt them right there. I love this. I agree to a certain extent, right? Because entrepreneurship is about solving problems, right? And if we are just seeking to, I love the part of, yes, we need to seek to understand, right? I don't know if I agree 100% with the part of like, we need to just mingle in and stay with the current, right?
I just want to clarify. I did not say stay with the current. I said first.
Well,
just want to say that.
This is part of the conversation right here.
Pratiti, you ready? You have your boxing gloves?
At the end of the day, we're going to ask you the most important question of the show, which, I'm actually going to say it right now. It is, which one is your favorite brother? But we're going to leave that for the end of the show. Pratiti. So, I see that, you need to seek to understand, and then you get used, understand the community that you're living in. But as an entrepreneur, right, you're going to start seeing problems that arise that you're like, I want to solve this, right? Or I see people struggling in certain areas of this community. I want to help, right? I want to make life better for other people. So I have a question, but I know my brother was about to ask a question, and I don't want to be extremely rude.
You just swooped in. Okay, so this question might help him clarify and calm down a little bit. So, Pratiti, do you find maybe that aspect of different cultures, right? Different things that crash, whatever that crash, if you stay or if you take action, right? That for an entrepreneur, do you find that to be fuel to continue and create change and create your own reality, right? Or you feel like that's a block that most entrepreneurs have to learn how to overpass? What will be your point of view there?
I think that there's so much unbelievable stuff that you guys just said that resonates so deeply within me, because when you think about being an entrepreneur and when we relate it to coming from different cultures, here's what I want to say about that. When you come from a different culture, you have different perspectives. When you're trying to fit into different cultures, you have different perspectives that you're trying to fit into. I totally get what you're saying, Luis and Fonzie, when you say, I don't know if I want to just seek to understand. Here's how I relate it. Being an entrepreneur is very, very similar to the same exact path of just being your own person, right? As an entrepreneur, you're your own boss. Mm-hmm. Trying to fit in with two different atmospheres, whether it's two different cultures, two different families, two different religions, two different anything.
Yeah.
The main thing that you have to really stay connected to is yourself. Mm. I have had many bosses, and now I am a boss of myself. What I found is I was a really great employee. And I have been a really great assistant to other people. I've not always been the great assistant to myself. What I found along the journey of being a human being and trying to fit in with my own life inside and outside of my house, everybody has a different perspective everywhere you go. So ultimately, you have to listen to your inner perspective. You have to listen to your heart. You have to listen to deep inside of you what is inherently inside of you to enable to follow a path and a journey and a process of living this life that you are meant to live.
Yeah.
When you are running your business, you have met many other business owners, whether you are an employee or whether you, have been gone to school or, just met other business owners. Again, you have to run your business that makes sense for you. I am somebody, when I have employees, I used to own a construction company. I had a painting business, and then I had people working for me. I had guys working for me as a woman, as an Indian woman in a time and a company that is predominantly men, and at a time where normally wouldn't see a woman, let alone a woman like me.
Yeah.
So I ran my business with a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy, and the men that were working for me really loved me as a boss because I saw them as a human being, as somebody that had a heart and cared about what they did and cared about their time. So I think that to your my long-winded answer to your question is, when you're trying to fit into two different places, no matter where they are, whether it's in business or in your life, it's super important to just tap into the depth of who you are as a human being, and that will guide you regardless of where you're trying to fit in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that sense of clarity that you bring to the table, that conversation, because I think, and this is totally based from personal experience, but I have a feeling a lot of entrepreneurs deal with this. When you start a business, right, it's all about, a lot of the times, people are like, I just want to make more money, right? How can I make money? And then eventually it changes to, wow, I'm actually impacting people. How can I help other people? And then you start losing yourself because maybe you're putting too much time into the business. And it's like, okay, well, I don't feel happy now with what I'm doing. And I started it because I wanted to be happy, right? And then starts like a process of self-discovery, right? Like gaining clarity on yourself. And I always go back to this phrase that I heard back at school. I think it was, I was like in first or second grade. I wish I knew who said it, but it was, to help others, you need to help yourself first, right? And that stuck to my head for so long because, you know, a lot of people, they're obviously talking, you know, you need to be of service of others and help others and help others. But on the inside, I felt, yes, I do want to do that. Don't get me wrong. I do want to help and serve others. But there's are so many, you know, I don't want to call it like insecurities, but unanswered questions inside of myself that kind of like stop me from fully serving those people, right? But at the same time, I felt in the past, right? Not so much right now, but in the past, I felt that if I dedicate time to answer those questions and rediscover who I am instead of being of service to other people, I feel guilty, right? I'm like, I'm being selfish, right? How do we deal with that in the process of self-discovery that we're talking about?
Yeah, that's a really great question. You know, what I find is when we work from a place and show up from a place of taking care of ourselves first, I find that we're able to help others and be there for others and be able to listen and come from a place of compassion, patience, so much better when we take care of ourselves first. I have, you know, a lot of young solo entrepreneurs and business folks that I talk to and I work with, and I am just crazy obsessed with having a very, very good morning routine and a nighttime routine. And to me, if you have like literally to me, having a morning routine and a nighttime routine that takes care of your physical health, your mental health, and your emotional health, like meaning your food, your exercise, your spiritual practice, whether it's a thought download, whether it's yoga, whether it's walking, run, it doesn't matter, whether it's meditation, you have to take care of yourself completely so that you are showing up 100% before you even start your day. Don't answer a text message. Don't go to an email. Do absolutely nothing until you are 100% take care of yourself. And then you will find you will go through your day with so much more love, compassion, patience, you know, the ability to hear other people, your clients, your employees on a 100% different level. And by the time you get through your day and go home to the people that you love and matter to you in your life for the whole reason that you're doing the business in the world, you're not going home to depleted from your entire day. You're not going home because you're now stressed out and you're at your end of your rope, that you're going home and not being able to listen with compassion and patience and love with your family members, right? So it's important to take care of yourself in a way that you are keeping yourself, maintaining yourself with energy and resilience throughout the day. That means eating well throughout the day. That means meditating in the middle of the day. That means doing something loving and caring for yourself, including how you schedule your time throughout the day, right? Do not book yourself for 3 meetings back to back. That's not being loving and kind to yourself. Take care of yourself. Know that you need a break in between and make sure you give that to yourself. That's what keeps you going in a very positive, energy flowing way throughout your day, all the way until nighttime.
I love that. Kind of like, I'm asking myself, how do I frame that within my life, right? And probably in moments that I feel overwhelmed or that I have too much stuff in the calendar, that usually when I'm overwhelmed, I don't do anything. Let's be honest. Like when I'm so overwhelmed, I like blank out. I'm like, okay, I don't know where to start.
It's a nightmare for me.
So you know, I should ask myself probably, am I loving myself? Am I being kind to myself? and then reflect on what I have on my schedule and say, okay, let me open up some space for reflection, for writing down, for meditation. I feel my brother here.
I always go back. Yeah, I feel, you're about to punch it.
One last thing. This is what I envision, because I've heard you say so many times compassion, empathy, love, patience, right? Like those are some incredible words with very deep meanings and a lot of emotions that get attached to them, right? And this image just keeps coming to my mind is that picture of leadership, right? Where you have a bunch of people kind of like pulling a rock, and you have the leader on the top of the rock. That's not what we want, right? And how I envisioned you is the other side of that picture, which is you on the front line, pulling with everybody right there in the trenches. And that, for me, that is signifies, shows the empathy, compassion, right, love and patience that you've been talking about so much.
Yeah.
That's actually the first thing that was said to me as a female boss in the construction and painting business, because the guys joke around and they say things like, Pratiti will run circles around any man contractor because I am the one that is like working my ass off,
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say ass on the show?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're allowed.
you will not, like, if like you have to go to the highest rung and you have to paint the chimney on the roof, they'll be like, send Pratiti. I'm the one that's going up there. I'm the one that's carrying the bucket. Like, I am working so hard, way harder than I expect any of my employees, but I am always the person that will say, listen, we're supposed to be done by Friday, but if we get done Thursday afternoon, you all will get paid until Friday. That gives them, like, they love that because they want to work even harder for you because you care about them and you're like, hey, take the day off. You know, when you care about, and so to your point, love and compassion for other people have to start with love and compassion for yourself. So when you're talking about your schedule and feeling overwhelmed, being able to honor yourself and your calendar is literally the key to a successful day, a successful week, a successful personal life, business life, because what you're doing, or what you should be doing, is taking your whole to-do list, everything that you need to get done today, tomorrow, next week, next year, someday, whatever, write it all down, and then sit down from a place of using your prefrontal cortex, where you're using your logical side of your brain. You're writing everything down, scheduling on your calendar on purpose, deciding ahead of time how much time something should take, and then you just have to throw away your to-do list. And your boss is your calendar. You just do what your calendar says. And it doesn't matter if you like it, if you don't want to do it. Life isn't about what you want to do. When you get to a point where you're like, oh, my calendar says I need to go work out today and I don't feel like working out. You need to look to your future self. You need to look to your higher self and say, what's your vision of who you see yourself as, right? I see myself as somebody who's healthy, maintains their body and their mind. And so even if I don't feel like doing this right now, I know that my future self is going to thank me and trust me to get it done. And that's where you build an amazing trust with yourself from today, your present self, and your future self. So sometimes we don't think we know the answer to something. I just ask my future self, like, what do I need to do? And my future self sometimes will tell me, like, you do not need to worry about that right now. Just do what you're told to do and move on, because sometimes it's just that, we don't have to like everything we have to do, or we need to do, or we need to tell ourselves that we have to do it or need to do it. We don't have to do anything. We want this. And that's why it's on our calendar. And that's sometimes the best way to just love ourselves, and then the loving the others comes easier.
Wow. I mean, we get to do all this, right? Like we get the opportunity to do what we want to do. We get the opportunity to help, we get the opportunity to serve, we get the opportunity to publish. And that's so important. I remember when a conversation that we had with George Bryant. He's been multiple times in the show, and he on his show he talks about containers and building those containers. And to me, that episode meant so much, because I was in a place in my life where there was no containers whatsoever. On my schedule, it's like, okay, I do this from this time to this time, right? People out there, like, this is my like the stuff that I was consuming from maybe people that were close to me that are not in this environment, right? Like, don't be a slave of your calendar, blah blah blah, like all that stuff, right? Well, it's not that I'm a slave to my calendar, it's that I'm optimizing my time, right? Like, it's different. What is the perspective that we're putting out there for the calendar, right? So right after that conversation, I had to go deep inside of me and be like, okay, what are these containers that I'm gonna start creating to keep them so tight so I can be optimized in my health, in my work, with my family, right? And these things. And I tell you, like, probably this is the first time that I say this on the show. It's not an easy task, right? Because sometimes we're in the business instead of being on the business, and it's just like, I need to get all this stuff done, and it's like the perception of like, if we don't get it done, like the world will collapse. I'm like, oh my goodness, let's step back for a little bit, right? And for me, it took like a very crazy episode in my private life to kind of open my eyes and be like, something needs to change, right? And this happened very recently, right? To the point where this past week, I made a commitment. I'm like, I'm going to get up before 6 a.m. Like, before that, it was 7:30, 8 a.m. And it was like, I felt like my day will just like trample me, right? Right now, I'm starting early. I have a morning routine. I started apply, the Miracle Morning, an incredible keynote that we had at PodMax, right? For example, that you were there present as well with Al Elrod. And these are the things that we need to start pulling, right? And create our own framework. It's like, what is the thing that I'm doing in the morning to prepare for that? And what you were just sharing is so powerful. To me, I remember sitting in an airplane, and when they, you probably experienced this, when they tell you, hey, if the plane is going down, the masks are going to come down, and they're like, put it you first, like put it to your face first, and then help others. And then when the first time I heard that, I'm like, not the first time, a few times after that, I was like, that's interesting. We got to take care of ourselves first to be able to do that. But then somehow when we embark on this entrepreneurial journey, right, we try to help everybody else before we help ourselves. And then, our health is depleting, and different things is depleting, production is depleting, and so on. So I think this is so powerful. And I don't know if Fonzie has another question around this topic. If the answer is yes, I'm going to leave the transition for after your, because I really want to.
We can transition.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I love this topic, by the way.
Yeah,
we could do a full episode just on this.
That's why I asked him. I'm like, yeah. So Pratiti, official invitation for part 2, just on personal development kind of deal. Maybe we should start a personal development show at some point. Yeah.
I want to start doing a Facebook Live and just having amazing conversations like this, because something you said, when we learn something from Hal Elrod, and the fact is we learn things from each other all the time. When I first met you both, and the first time, Luis, you and I got a chance to have a conversation, and I heard your story of your soccer and coming here and playing. It's like, it blew my mind. And, it really comes down to, if we pay attention and we take the time to have conversations with people and genuinely take interest in what the other person has to offer, that follows through with, listening to you and allowing myself to be inspired by you. It just brings more depth to me, and it brings a part of my heart that allows me to connect to your heart and your story, and it instantly connects us. And I have said that so much of my life is that I have an ability to connect with people instantly on a very personal and intimate level.
Yeah.
It's because I find it very important to be very intimate with myself. And that means I care about what I'm wearing and how I present myself. I am also somebody who gets up very early. I was actually, for the entire year before 220, I was getting up at 3:45 in the morning. Ooh. I get up, I like literally go do my hygiene, put my coffee on, diffuser. I sit down, I meditate for 25 minutes. I get up, I get dressed, I go to the gym. I'm at the gym by 5 a.m. I come back, I shower, I get ready. I'm listening to something positive, whether it's a podcast as amazing as your guys' podcast. If it's an audio book, it's not a novel. It's definitely something that's positively motivating me. Yeah. And then I start my day at 7 a.m. by doing a thought download, which is I'm dumping my brain onto a piece of paper, taking a look at my thoughts, deciding whether I want to keep them or not.
Yeah.
and then deciding on what I want to change them to, because it's not about having positive thoughts all day. You are not the sum of your thoughts. Our thoughts come from like our primitive brain, and it's just natural human being to have thoughts about whatever. It's more important to be aware of them and choose them on purpose. We don't need to go out of our way to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
We just need to understand why we're thinking what we're thinking. So much of what we think about just comes from a place of when we were children, somebody said something, we believed them.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have that because that's natural. But then as an adult, we have the ability to decide whether we want to keep believing something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. And that's such a powerful statement there. As adults, we have the ability to decide either we want to continue to believe this. And I truly believe in affirmations and actions after the affirmations, right? Those things. And sometimes we have things in front of our face that are telling us the opposite of what we're thinking when our thought process is completely wrong, and we don't believe it, we don't see it, right? So I think that's the wonderful thing about the human being, is that we can go to the future and literally grab that image and put it in our heads and be like, that's exactly what's going to happen, and then it happens. It's so incredible. We have so many crazy stories around that. You know, we can continue to do this episode. I really want to transition on the publishing side, right? Because everything that you've talked about right now is building your own framework of operational to be able to execute, right? And today you're in a position where you can share your message and have these incredible conversations with incredible entrepreneurs, young people, right? So, but at the same time, your journey as publisher and putting your platform out there, your show, your podcast, your content, right, has not been probably like that frictionless, right? For anybody, right? It's a journey as well. So I would love for you to describe a little bit of that journey, why you decided to go unpublished, because everybody has their own reasons, right? For us, it was obviously mainly business side of things, and it has evolved into so much more with the relationships that we were able to build. But I would love to dig in a little bit in your story. Like, why publishing? Why are you doing this? Why do you want to put your message out there, whether that's personal or business?
Yes, and you're talking about publishing my podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Or anything else that you publish. Yeah.
Just putting your voice out there in the world.
You got Fonzie emotional.
I know. I love that. I love that. And thank you so much for asking, because to be honest, it has been a life journey that it was going on inside of me. So much time spent on, so let me just back up. Coming from an Indian culture, we have my culture, my parents have a certain way that they think that you should behave or you should act or don't take a risk, or, and something my mother used to say so much to me is, she said it in Indian, but what she would say was, don't have to talk all the time. Don't have to put your voice out there. There was a phrase that basically what it meant was like, don't be too smart.
Wow.
And it wasn't coming from a place of she didn't, just be quiet, don't talk. It was just coming from a place of, let other people talk. You don't always have to show off. It was like coming from a place of don't have to stand out.
Yeah.
Right. And that may have worked at a certain time, even in her life, but coming from that one thought as an adult, I realized how much of my life I spent quieting my voice. When inside of me, it was literally going against me, where I was having this constant war with myself, this constant turmoil, because I know how much I have wanted to speak up. It's like I clearly am now doing what I love doing, which is talking. My mother and father probably like, yep, that's what she would stop her from doing. She wouldn't shut up. We kept telling her to. But the fact is, what has kept me on this journey, I have gone through a lot of things. I've gone through bullying and being picked on, and I did go against my culture, and I had an American boyfriend and had a baby out of wedlock. He left I was now making a choice to be a single mom.
No.
Which I literally did go against everybody. I fought the entire system to make the decision alone to be a single mother.
Yeah.
And of course, in the end, my family, everybody was very supportive. And my son grew up with luxury and the privilege of growing up with me and my parents, like his grandparents, his great grandparents. My grandparents were here from India and lived with us.
Wow.
My aunt and uncle came from India, and they would, go between families and states. And my uncle was an English teacher in India. So even I know 3 languages, my son knew 3 languages.
Yeah.
And he grew up with not just extended family, which if anybody's listening, stop keeping your children from extended family, because what they can learn from extended family, they are never going to learn from you as their parents. They have to get that from other people. And my son got also the culture. He was learning how to read and write Gujarati and Hindi, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
So when I think about the journey I've gone on, one of the moments in my life, the moment that I was able to finally give myself the opportunity to just speak my voice whenever I wanted to, without having to ask permission, was as a mother to my son. And my son and I were very, very close. We had an amazing bond and connection. And it's because we had a tremendous amount of life talk. He had a mother who wouldn't stop talking.
Yeah.
So he loved to have these great conversations where we would talk for hours. We loved to sing and dance together. We loved to put on performances together. So we spent a lot of time talking. And so to answer your question with this long answer, my podcast that I'm finally putting out there is absolutely in honor of my son, Devin. He had a fatal accident in 2009. I launched it on my son's anniversary. My son climbed a high voltage structure and touched a wire by accident, and lost his life at the age of 17. Oh, it's making me want to cry right this moment. He would be turning 30 at the end of this year. Wow. And that is the demographics that I want to impact and influence, because I want them all to know that life is here for you to be experiencing as a human being. It's not just the journey. It's not just the process. This is what you're doing. You signed up to be a human being, and life is not always going to be rainbows and daisies. Sometimes there are going to be super difficult moments in life. And at the end of your life, I hope that we can all say that we were able to embrace all of the experiences that life had to offer to us. Yeah. And that we were able to process them in a way that was healthy, and that then we could turn around and share with the next person. And what a brilliant way to do that is through the platform of a podcast, where anybody and everybody can listen to other people's experiences and have the opportunity to learn, grow, and evolve through those moments.
Oh. Wow. Thank you so much for not sticking to the status quo of your culture, if you want to put it that way. Thank you for sharing your beautiful story. I mean, it's incredible, and for the vulnerability, really, thank you so much. Yeah. And I mean, more than anything, thank you so much for using that to turn around and influence other people for the best, right? Because there might be a lot of people. I do not relate, obviously, to the pain that experience can cause, but I'm sure there are people there that suffer, maybe similar circumstances, and then they tune out, right? And they have so much inside of them that they could share with other people, right? To help other people as well. And that's what you're doing by speaking out loud, by sharing your message, and your experiences, right? So again, thank you so much. I'm just like mind blown at everything, honestly.
There's a couple elements there that I really would love to unpack, right? And things that we do our best to relate with our audience at that point and our community to kind of, okay, these are the lessons that people are using, you know, to remove the friction from putting their message out there, right? And it's like, that's why I asked you, like, why. It's like the why, like your fuel, right? And we all have that in here, and there's different mediums of where we can do that. You found yours in podcasting and building relationships, and I am your testimonial to where, like, every single relationship that you were in, like, that you developed through Podmax, that was how we met you. Everybody has something wonderful to say, and I'm sure, like, you've impacted their life as much as they impacted yours, right? Or even more, because the second I interacted with you on a one-on-one, I'm like, wow, what a powerful story. And we talked about this. We're like, this message needs to be out, right? And we when we talk with our community on, hey, if you are going live, if you are putting your message out there, don't worry about the little number that shows out there that maybe 1 or 2 people are watching. It doesn't matter, man, because you are talking to that one person, and that person is paying the full attention today, right now, to listen to you. So then they're going to turn around and they're going to apply whatever you said, and their life is going to get better. And by default, the life of the people around them is going to get better, right? So sometimes we get so caught up in that, and that's such an important lesson. I remember when we first launched the show, people were like, well, how many listeners in the first, like, 5 months? Well, I have no idea, because we don't look at that data, because we're not doing that for them. We're doing that for us today. Like, going back to what you said at the very beginning, it's like, hey, we got to take care of ourselves first. And we're like, okay, we need to understand that we got to put our message out there, right? We got to understand, okay, how do we do it consistently, right? That's the one thing. If we don't do it consistently, we cannot help anybody, right? So that's the first thing. So I want to give you huge props for going back and going, you know, to your scars and sharing and being vulnerable, because that's not easy to do, right? So, like, my question to that is, like, how do you find the strength of being vulnerable and sharing this? Like, do you recognize the moment where you were like, enough is enough, I gotta do this, right? If you can recognize, like, what was that moment?
Yeah, I've literally had that moment my whole life. To be quite honest, I have been sharing, you know, things that I've been going through, and actually that happened forcefully. So the truth of it was, I was keeping everything to myself because I didn't know who to share it with as a young girl. So, you know, I was getting picked on in school. I went home and told my parents in the very beginning, in the first time. And, you know, my parents went to school and they were like, you know, people are picking on my daughter. Like, they didn't know how to handle it. And of course, you know, as little kids, that just made it worse. So then I never went back and told my parents. So in the beginning, I kept it to myself. And then I think at some point a teacher found out, sent me to the guidance counselor, and then they kind of forced me to talk about what was going on. And once I did that, and just came from a place of honesty and vulnerability and just openness, and allowed myself to just sit in the truth of it and really be honest with myself and what I was feeling, and just sharing it, from that moment, it changed my life, because it felt amazing to finally let it out, right? There's a lot of people in the world struggling with anxiety and depression and panic and all kinds of things, stress. It's because they're keeping it to themselves. If you open up, you are not only healing yourself, but from that moment on, I recognized one thing, Luis and Fonzie, is, as a human being, I heard Fonzie say, you know, he can only imagine what it must be like for me to lose a child. But the fact is, it doesn't really matter what the struggle is. It doesn't matter what the challenge is. It doesn't matter how small or big it is. We all go through different things in our life, right?
Yeah.
It is our responsibility as a human being. If I am 1 second older than you, and or not, even if I'm younger than you and I've gone through something, if I share it, it can help you. It doesn't have to be the same thing. You do not have to lose a child to know the importance of getting out of bed and facing your shit in the mirror and to other people. It's okay if you suffered from an addiction. It's okay if you struggled with anything, you know, being picked on, being bullied. It doesn't matter if you had a ridiculous amount of acne on your face and people, you know, didn't find you pleasing, visually pleasing. It doesn't matter if you can't lose weight. It doesn't matter what the struggle is, because whatever you're feeling challenged with, it is very real for you. It is very huge for you.
Yeah.
I'm somebody who never struggled with losing weight. I always struggled with gaining weight. People would say the complete opposite to me. I was always very slender. And growing up, I was ashamed of my body. I had the same body images as somebody who was heavy, because people would say, oh, you're so skinny. Do you even eat? Are you anorexic? Are you healthy? It's just like, wow, I'm pretty athletic. And I did a lot of gymnastics back then. And I was in sports. So like I wasn't physically on sports teams, but I played, in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I wasn't unhealthy. I ate very healthy, but I just naturally was skinny. But I felt ashamed of myself and my body because of the way other people were perceiving me. And in that, I developed an unhealthy thought about myself. And so, when you're out there judging other people, it's because you have judgments on yourself. Our duty as a human being is to share something that we have learned with another human being, so that they can also learn. The whole goal here isn't to be competing with one another and trying to outwin one another. The goal should be to help humanity as a whole thrive and learn and grow and evolve. And the only way to do that is the way that we're doing it right now, by sharing our conversations, so the person who's listening to us, like Luis said, whether it's 1, 2, or 100 people, doesn't matter, because if you can impact just one person, you can do that with a single conversation. Because one thing my son has taught me, as many people who have been lost in this world, is you only have this one moment. We don't know if we're going to have another moment. So this moment has to be the only moment.
Wow. What you just said was so beautiful, right? Like, we all go through hardship, and it is our responsibility to share it with the world so we can help others, right? And I see it as heal yourself to be able to help others as well. And you can do that all through sharing, right? I think it's an incredible way to do it, right? And there's a lot of, if you want to call it, false beliefs out there inside the people that hold them up from sharing their message, right? So I wrote down here, what are the questions we can ask ourselves to help that process for heal to help, right?
Sometimes that is the only thing that's the difference between keeping ourselves stuck and or allowing ourselves to move forward is, are we asking ourselves the right questions? That's so beautiful, Fonzie. I talked about this a lot during Corona. Everybody was so living in fear of what are we afraid of? Let's ask ourselves the right questions, right? Are we afraid of dying? Because death is on the table for us every single day. Are we afraid of getting sick? Because anytime we could have a cough and go to the doctor and we're sick. We're dying of cancer or something. It doesn't. The things that we are sometimes struggling with is that is the time that we need to stop and ask ourselves the right questions. So some of the questions that we could ask ourselves, or I should say the number one question that we could ask ourselves is, what am I thinking about this? Right? If we're stuck with something, whether it's our relationship, whether it's our business, whether it's a client, whether it's something that didn't happen, what am I thinking about this? And then seeing what am I thinking about this, write a bunch of thoughts down, and then ask yourself, do I even want to be thinking about this? Is this a thought that's serving me? Is this a present thought, or is this a current thought, or is this a thought from 1985? Do I even want to continue thinking this thought? So I think some of the questions that we ask ourselves is really, it's actually the most important thing, because whatever we tell our brains to think about, our brains will go to work to find the evidence for whatever we're thinking about. So if we wake up in the morning and go, oh, it's raining, it's going to be a horrible day. Our brain will look for evidence and prove to you that it is going to be a horrible day. And it will end up being a horrible day because that's what you focused on. One of the things in real estate, we have these courses that we go through, and one of them is bold. And one of our bold laws is whatever you focus on expands. It was one of my very favorite laws because it is brilliant and is the absolute 100% truth. It's like the same thing as the law of attraction. Mm-hmm. When you choose to think on purpose, right? You choose what result you're bringing to yourself.
Yeah.
Because, how we choose to think about something is what creates all of our emotions. And everything that we do or don't do is to either have a feeling or avoid a feeling, which, of course, all of our actions or inactions create our results. So it's not a new concept. But it's no different than the law of attraction. If you think happy thoughts and you have happy feelings and you do happy actions, you're going to create the right results.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what you, along with the universe, is going to bring to yourself. So that's really brilliant, Fonzie. It is all about how important the questions that we ask ourselves. And one of the most important ones is, what am I thinking about this and why?
Wow.
And then do I want to continue thinking that way?
Yeah. I just love everything you share. And I think it goes, honestly, we can go full circle back to the very beginning, right? Self-awareness. We started talking about that, right? Mm-hmm. And now literally we transitioned to publishing and it went back to self-awareness. Like publishing, sharing these things, it helps you build the self-awareness you need to build yourself so you can then therefore help others, right? Heal to help. So thank you. And we usually ask for an action point, right? We're like, what is an action point that people can take today to move one step forward? And I think that is a great one, right? Like, are we asking ourselves the right question? And I'm going to kind of like break it down here for the listener, right? So please write it down, take action on this, right? First, like, what is that feeling that is weighing heavy inside of your heart, right? Then stop and ask these questions. What am I thinking about this? Why am I thinking about this? Do I even want to keep thinking about this? Is this actually serving me at the moment? And then, like you said, whatever we focus on, expand. So we need to be aware of what are those thoughts, even from the very beginning of our day, right? Am I waking up with a negative attitude for the day? Then the day probably is going to go on in a negative way, right? Let's get up and instead of saying, oh, it's raining or, oh, I gotta go to work. No, hey, I get to go to work. How exciting is that I get to build a life for myself and my family while I am serving others, right? How exciting is that? So thank you so much. I wanted to leave that and frame that as the action point because I think it is extremely valuable for people.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, thank you so much for everything today. I mean, what an incredible conversation. Yes. Obviously, you are more than welcome to come anytime you want to continue the show. So we have one last question, and then we're going to ask you to share a little bit of where can people find you, right? So the last question of the show is, where will you be if you did not start publishing?
I am still in real estate, so I would still be there. But if I didn't move forward with the publishing of that podcast, I would still be wondering. I would keep myself in that space of just looping with what if. And that is a place that we can always just keep ourselves stuck. It's the easiest way to stay stuck by just continuing to tell yourself, what if? And the other one is, I don't know. I usually tell people, well, what if you did know? Then what would the answer be?
Yeah. Thank you.
So, I would be looping with what if, and I wouldn't be moving forward. That's what would have happened.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's incredible what putting your thoughts into words and putting them out to the world can do for you. Like, and maybe we should reframe this question from now on. It's like, where would you be like emotionally, and then you know, in physically, right? Like, because obviously we translate it into the business side of things, but at the same time, if we don't grow internally, like the business is never gonna grow. Like the business is a reflection of the current us in that state, right? And you know, personally, what Fonzie and I have been doing for the past 2 weeks is a very deep look into that personal development side, translating it into the business side of things to create those containers that we talked about earlier to move forward in the next year and to optimize and see how many people can we help and share the message and, you know, directly related to the goals of the business, which ultimately is our goals as well, because hence our business, right? So I love how everything is going full circle, and that your answer to this was more on the emotional side of things, right? It's like, I am out of the what if loop, and that's sometimes super hard to achieve for a lot of people. So publishing is a vehicle to do this. So thank you, Pratiti, for practicing what you preach and sharing your message. Now, where can people go and find your show? Where can people listen to these incredible conversations, incredible thoughts that you have and you're putting into the world and helping so many?
Thank you so much. And I actually want to just piggyback onto that for one moment. I want to thank you, number one, just like you said, you know, since we met at the first Pod Max event, I would have stayed stuck in that what if. I want to put my voice out there. I want to be heard. I have something to say. And I have been saying that for so long. So to answer your question fully, is I was open to experiencing something that I hadn't ever experienced. I jumped onto that event and I allowed everybody else's experiences to penetrate me and inspire me to move forward to doing it, because from August of 2020 till April of 21, I launched a podcast and I had never even been on a podcast or knew anything about podcasts. So yeah, that is the main key is open yourself up to opportunity, to growth, by allowing yourself to hear something, experience something that you may have been nervous or worried about or scared about. Like, be scared and do it anyway.
Absolutely.
People can reach me at any of your social media platforms. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I am also at resultsbydesigncoaching.com. My podcast is Unpacking Brain Drama. And you can also reach me for real estate at pratiti@kw.com email.
Yes.
Awesome. And we're going to leave all the links in the description. So like my brother said, use your thumb, scroll down, tap them all, hit follow on all Pratiti accounts, and send her a message. Say the content is Profit Family sent to you. Say hi and connect. Connecting is the best part of all this, right? Like, don't be afraid to reach out, say hi, because you never know who you can have a conversation with that will change your life. And I am sure Pratiti is one of those people. So reach out to her, connect with her, and, go follow her podcast.
Yeah. Pratiti, any last thoughts you want to share before we head out?
Yes. If this is the first time you're ever listening to Luis and Luis, aka Fonzie, and content is profit, continue listening to them, because you will get a wealth of wisdom. So thank you guys so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Pratiti. With that said, thank you so much for tuning into the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and follow the show on your favorite platform and on social media at BizBrosCo.
That is right. And if today's episode was impactful, which I am sure it was, because it was mind-blowing, so incredible, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review.
Bye, guys.
See ya.